I'm an only child and live with my mom and dad in a fairly spacious home. It's a bit large for just the three of us, but my parents always joke that they never meant to have just one kid, they just never got around to adding more. Anyway, I was 15 when this happened. It was a rainy Saturday night in May. I don't remember the exact date, but I know it was one of the last weekends before summer break. Quick side note, I've got a bunch of weird medical conditions that make life a bit harder than usual. I deal with frequent panic attacks, fainting spells, and sometimes difficulty breathing. I'm also one of those people who can't sleep unless it's completely silent. Even the hum of a fan keeps me awake. I've mostly figured out how to manage it, but sleepovers and trips are still pretty rough. People always say rain helps them sleep, but it has the opposite effect on me. It rarely rains where I live, but when it does, it can pour hard enough to keep me up all night. This particular night wasn't a thunderstorm, but the downpour was heavy enough to drive me crazy. I tried everything to block out the sound of the rain hitting the roof, but nothing worked. Eventually, sometime well past midnight, I gave up on trying to sleep. I got out of bed to figure out a way to wear myself out. I ended up deciding to take a short walk in the rain. Not the first time I've done that either. My parents actually encouraged it when I couldn't sleep. We live in a super safe neighborhood, and our house backs up to a big public park, so it's never felt dangerous. Plus, the park's really well lit, which makes it feel even safer. I slipped on a rain jacket, tiptoed downstairs, and stepped out without bothering to grab an umbrella. I also left my phone behind, knowing I'd just stare at the screen and stay awake longer. Outside, it was strangely calming. I've always liked nature, and seeing the trees sway with the rain flowing down the branches was exactly what I needed. After about 20 minutes, I started feeling drowsy, a good sign. I turned around and headed back home, thinking I'd probably be able to fall asleep once I got back. While cutting through the park, I glanced toward the road and saw something odd. There was a long, dark shape lying across the street. At first, I assumed it was just a weirdly shaped trash bag or something, but the more I stared at it, the more I realized it was a person, someone lying face down in the middle of the street. I immediately felt sick. The first thought in my head was that they'd been hit by a car. What other reason would someone have to lie motionless in the road, especially during a rainstorm? As much as my gut screamed for me to keep walking, I felt like I couldn't just ignore it. My parents always taught me to help someone if they're in trouble. So, against every instinct, I walked toward the figure. Getting closer, I noticed what they were wearing. Dark pants and a plaid shirt. Not exactly rain gear. It looked like a man, which I had already guessed. Something strange happened then. Maybe it was the situation, or maybe something else, but I suddenly realized how freezing cold I was. Like the rain had gone from lukewarm to icy in an instant. Just as I was about to reach the road, a loud screech rang out behind me. My body reacted before I could think. I spun around, heart pounding. Sounded like a howl, but not a normal one. Almost like a hurt animal. I scanned the trees but didn't see anything. The sound must have come from deep in the park. Still, the weirdness of it all had me on edge. But nothing could have prepared me for what happened when I turned back. The person in the street wasn't lying down anymore. He was sitting up, staring directly at me. That was the moment I realized what real fear felt like. My vision narrowed, and I felt like I was about to faint. Then, without warning, he stood up and sprinted toward me, grinning like a maniac. In one hand, he was holding something that looked like a kitchen knife. Up until then, I didn't really know what it meant to fear for your life. But the second he started running, I bolted in the opposite direction. As I ran, I heard him shout, "I'll kill you," at the top of his lungs. The soaked grass made running hard, but thankfully, it slowed him down too. I didn't want to lead him to my house, so I turned and ran toward the trees, hoping I could lose him in the park. Yeah, I know the screech came from there, but I didn't have a better option. I didn't look back. I just kept running. He looked totally deranged, and something told me he wasn't bluffing. I pushed into the thickest part of the woods and finally ducked behind a tree. I was ready to throw up from exhaustion. I peeked behind me, no sign of him, at least none that I could see. I had no idea how I was going to make it home safely, so I stayed hidden behind that tree. I must have waited about 20 minutes before cautiously stepping out. I took the long way home, circling around the back end of the park and through another section that led to a side street near my house. No one followed me. When I finally got home, I collapsed into bed, soaked, shaking, and basically traumatized. I never got any answers about what happened. That screech is still what sticks with me the most. I don't know if it was related to that man or not, but it's too much of a coincidence to ignore. Maybe he heard it, looked up, saw me, and just snapped. I honestly have no clue. Maybe he was on something. There are just people out there who are not right. I still live in the same house, and even though years have gone by, I think about that night more often than I'd like to admit.